All right. Okay. So to begin, we're going to talk about learning the landscape. And again, today is the foundations of how you get around ActiveNet. That's really basically what we're going to share today. And I'll try to keep this right at an hour. Does everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. All right, so we're going to begin. So just to kind of give it a little bit of etiquette for today's presentation, if you can, and if right now it's fine, if y'all can, if we're not, if there's not too much feedback, overall we'll stay muted if it gets out of hand, but just so everybody can hear. The presentation, again, will be recorded for everybody to share with your teams if they couldn't be here today. Make note of any questions you got while we're doing the presentation. We will review at the end, and once it's concluded, when we get to the Q&A, that'll be the end of the presentation. So you all are welcome to head out, or if you want to stay around to ask questions, we will do that. And then again, most of y'all probably have dialed in on your phone, or you can do it on your computer using your audio and video, or it could be a combination of both. And then the presentation that I sent, again, this link in there will be for those that'll have, the presentation going forward. Today, we're going to talk about 4 main things. One we're going to do is, where do I go for the specific module trainings, which are also referring to as Brainshark. So we'll talk a little bit about that. I will also show a little preview if you haven't been in there already. We're also going to understand the differences between the live database and the trainer database, and why that's important, because today we're going to be in the trainer database. So anything that we do in there is not going to affect our live portion. Most of y'all probably know that, but again, I wanted to reemphasize there are 2 databases working with ActiveNet. We will preview the home screen images one by one, kind of breaking down each section, showing you what the different headings are doing, what the different menus are doing. We'll have all of those to showcase. And then we'll dive into the trainer database to get some hands-on experience with that. And those of you will have the link on the presentation. If you didn't remember what it was, it's there too. If you have your main computer, you're welcome to go follow along as well. So that's today's training. That's going to be an overview of today. Real basic, and we'll be building on the next one on Tuesday next week at the same time. I'll try to keep these at 2 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays so we can continue building as we go. Again, on the training, if you haven't gotten the link, this is the link to the Brainshark videos. So that's very important. So make sure to jot that down, or once you have the presentation, you'll have it as well. But I sent these out to all the supervisors to make sure that we have all of our, and I think most of some of the staff here, but if you do need the logins, I'll email those out to us at the end of the presentation, so you have that. But again, all of those, we do have, all those videos are very, very helpful when it comes to understanding what each section is doing. They are pretty good, and I've gone through the majority of them already, and they will be very helpful as we move forward through the training. Now we're going to understand the difference between those databases. So you see on the left, we have that live database, which will be, once we're up and going, we'll be using that day to day. That will be where everything is going to be going, full blast. Now, you'll also see what we're looking at today, the copy database, also known as the trainer database, is that information basically duplicated to a new database. You can't reverse anything done in the trainer cannot go back to the live, but anything in the live database can be written to the trainer database, if that makes any sense. That's basically, we can have new data that we're using, we can copy it over to the trainer so we get some live training experience with data that we're using on a regular basis. So I just wanted to show the difference between the live database and the trainer database that you see here. We're going to go into understanding the home screen. When you go into ActiveNet on the trainer database, this is what you will see roughly. It is a little scrunched in, however, it gives you kind of an idea of what it will look like. And again, we're going to be breaking down all these different areas in today's presentation. Again, all of this stuff here, and you'll also know when you get in the trainer database, it should have a background saying trainer on it. So you'll know you're in the trainer database once you log in if you see that background. We're going to talk about starting at the top, we have the main headings, what they call the banner tabs. And these break up the major parts of ActiveNet. from customers to our front desk to the point of sale stuff. And we also have a text messaging capability, which will allow us to send updates for individual classes or anything. Really, it could be even for just a general announcement to members. So we will have a lot more capabilities to do stuff via text message. You'll have your reports tab that will be at the top, and then the administration, which administration will have, again, everything as far as different reports and different settings that go with ActiveNET. So that's the main headings you'll see when you come up top, which is also known as the banner tab. The next part, though, is you have the tab section, just regular tabs. The difference here is that when you get into ActiveNET and you see that main menu, each of these tabs are a subsection of the main tab at the top. So if you actually do go onto your customer tab and you create a customer or you're looking up a customer, first tab you'll get to is going to be that first customer. And just like you do in like an Internet Explorer or in a Firefox setting, you can see there's a plus sign right there. You can add another customer to it. So you can have multiple customers to view on your desktop, which is also a very nice feature. And you can, again, a lot of the database will update if you're looking at different sections. You can update that stuff. And down in further trainings, we'll go through and get to show you exactly that. But again, just to show the difference, the actual tabs are subsections of the main tabs up here, and you can again build multiple windows to work on different things. Then you'll have the account menu, and at the top right corner, you will see that when you log in, your name is actually going to show where account says. And this one's a little bit older version, but with mine and all of our latest stuff, we will have your name actually will be in place there. Now we also will show too that there's also a couple of things that we're going to build on from this account menu. And in the account menu, you'll notice, like I said, here's the little more modern picture that I screenshotted. The top part is showing here, when you see the Summit Active Adult Center, is actually the entire location that you're logged into. You'll see below, though, the bottom part is the terminal that you're logged into within that entire location, okay? So knowing that, say for the Summit sake, if we say the Summit front desk would be on this bottom one, and then the Summit Active Adult Center would be on top. So you can change individual sections on the second one below. You can change this to another terminal if you needed to. But that's where you can change those things right up there. And again, if it was at Kirby Creek, same thing. If you have a different station, you can use the bottom one to change your terminal if you're needing to log in somewhere else. But those are where you can go as far as on the account. But when you go to your name, this is where you can see where you're logged into. We then look at the navigation menu. Now, each side, when we go into the trainer database, this will obviously come all together. But when you do look at it, each of those main headings is going to have a different menu, a navigation menu on the left, which drills a little further into different reports and different settings. So you will see that on the left-hand side that will allow you to be able to get your reports and get into a particular setting in those different modules. And say, for instance, like looking at the facility management, this actually will take you right to the calendar. So you'll see that resource calendar like we were doing with Amanda, and that will allow us to see, all of the different bookings that are going on. And then different financial reports, and those will deal with FlexRegs. They'll have the menu choices there, memberships, more choices in the membership menu, and a population, which is also the customer database. They use population, which is also known as the customer side. So you can do customer reports as well. Then you have the dashboard. Now, as a picture here, again, we talked about those tabs. Now, each of those tabs, like in the administration, for instance, we have a tab that shows, what the menus will look like. They define this main area in the middle called the dashboard. So when you're in administration, it gives you all of these different types of headings and the menus all together. It's kind of almost a summary of what all of those navigation tabs are. So if you're in administration, this gives you a kind of overview of all the different areas that you can go into as far as running a report or ringing up a sale or editing a point of sale item too. All of those are in there. But that's what the dashboard is about. Now, in here, you will also note there are two areas that have help sections. What's really neat about ActiveNET, and what I've learned in the videos too, if you're in a particular section of, say, for instance, memberships, if you're in memberships and you by chance have a question or trying to look up something on how to set up a feature in the memberships, it's the help feature on the left side here that's at the top. This allows you, it is actually more of a knowledge base. It knows exactly where you're at, and you can click on help, and it will take you to the particular section in memberships of all the different things you're looking for. So it kind of helps you, it kind of simplifies some of that process of having to hunt down in the search engine in ActiveNET to find it. It's actually knowledgeable and will help find, to kind of drill down to get you what you need. So it is a little bit more intuitive, which is really, really nice. But know that helps, that this help right here will allow you to drill further to more specific questions inside maybe memberships, point of sale, you name it, or the customer database. Now you look on the other side. Now this is on the left main menu. That you'll see on the far left side, the navigation side. There's also an active support link. Now that is where you can actually send a support ticket, or you can actually look at the knowledge base itself, or what they also call the active answers, I believe it is, which I've actually been getting involved in trying to hunt down different settings for the system. But it's a wealth of knowledge. You do have to be logged into your login in order to access it. It will come up with a prompt to log in if you're not. But it is very helpful though. If you do need to put a support ticket in or anything along that it's not working for you, this is the active support link that will take you to. So again, there's a couple different little ways to get help in here. Again, more intuitive way specifically for that area you're looking up, or a general support ticket, or you look at it as just as more of a knowledge base. In the broad picture, you can search just about anything in ActiveNET. But just to know, that's where there are two different areas in help. Again, the menus, there's a lot of different menus. So please, when you get in the trainer database, and even after today, you need to keep practicing. We'll make sure if anybody that doesn't have a login, I think most everybody does have a login to the trainer database, but if not, please let me know, and we can also reach Amanda as well if it comes down to it. But there are a lot of different menus in ActiveNET, which is very important. Why I'm really focusing on where things are and how you get around. Because in the administration menu, you will see on the left-hand menus for the main section. Again, those headings that were at the top, you have the left side here, which is kind of drilling down a little further in those areas. So again, each of those settings have options as well. But again, that's where you can see now the administration menu, the dashboard, your navigation links, then the tabs are all kind of coming together now. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and jump into the trainer database. And I'm pretty sure if everybody remembers, if you can't get in right now, just follow along with me. Again, we'll be able to get back in here later. So I'm going to go ahead and take it on over to the trainer database. Okay. So again, we're going to be building on this in the next section next week. However, just to kind of show you again that when you when you log in, this is the screen you'll come to, which is the customer search. You again have all of it. You can actually open up more customer searches as well if you wanted to create a whole nother one. But again, you can do a search in here, and then if you needed to find something else, you could do it as well. Like I showed you, and again, they had an update to the main ActiveNET formatting, so some of these are a little bit more modern than what those pictures were. But again, the same kind of concept applies. The help is right up here if you needed to find something specifically, in like a membership area. But you look at the menus here, like if you go into customers, you have the customer menu. You can go in here and search for customers. The front desk menu, again, you have a lot of the different enrollments here. When they have the word receipt a lot in ActiveNET. Now, what receipt actually is basically a new transaction, is what I've started to understand. And when you go into searching a customer, which we'll go in further detail in another lesson, you will be able to basically start a new transaction, as many as you want for a particular customer. But again, these are what each of these areas are. This will be a pretty common screen that you'll see whenever you're wanting to start. If you're wanting to enroll a member into a program, you will be able to hit the enroll button. Again, we will have wait lists. Now, for those, I think all of us would say that's pretty exciting. We haven't had wait lists for a few years, especially when we used to have class, that we actually realized that was a very nice tool. But now when we're back to wait lists, we'll have that ability with all of our programs. But again, this is what you'll see when you look at customers. The front desk is that's where you click on front desk. This is where you can do transactions as well. POS equipment is not completely set up yet, but we're still working on things. But the POS screen, this is what we've been working on in the trainings with Amanda. And for the summit, this is what we've basically been able to set up with all of our different things. We'll try to keep it just about the same as what we've had in Center Edge, to some extent. But we've also, it's a little bit more, it seems a little bit easier to work with for sure. So again, when you go to POS, you'll be able to see the actual point of sale screens and then ring up transactions. Now, member check-in. Now, I went ahead and added this feature in because this is eventually when we get to all of our stations and checking in members, this is what you'll have. Now, in the beginning, we've also had the ability to, we set up stations that our check-in screens are going to be tied to. This is where that's going to come in. So when if you basically have your screen that's going to come in for checking in members, if it's whatever your normal areas, this one will be available for you to watch members check in. So that, again, that's where that will be housed right here in the middle for member check-in. You then have reports, like we talked about. You have several different reports. You can also do custom reports as well. But I think they had over 300 or so different reports that we'll be able to use along the way. So those are very, very important, though. We can then, again, you can break it down to for instructors, you can get instructor rosters a lot easier. Then our daily reports for like in a day, you'll have the cash receipts that we'll be going through later on. A lot of those things we'll have a lot of different reports that will be housed right here. And then in the communication side, I kind of mentioned to you that the text messaging and email messages and stuff that will be here. Those you can actually send a letter via email or text message, or you can also create an email or a text message as well from the system. Those kind of things are very, very available to you. You also have list builders too that will allow you to build that will give you that chance to have all of the, when it comes down to any particular class, if it's a fitness class or if it's for trips, you name it, or full lesson even for swim lessons, you could create a special list for those. So those are all available to you. Again, we'll build more later on, but just to know these are where those are housed. And then the administration, like we said, all of these here, kind of an overview of every different area that has the settings too. So again, those main headings, they'll call, again, up here, inner tabs, that's where your main areas will go. And then these areas here will drill further into those areas if you need it. So like we look on the different menus, like equipment, which a lot of those things are not going to be needed right away. If you needed to make changes to particular settings in your different areas, this is where you would come to. They kind of, again, break down even further on like the POS and equipment. This is where your equipment stuff will be. Again, the facility side, if we needed to go in and update the sizes of the rooms or how many people can take in a room, or just even add a whole nother room period, this is where that would be. And then, for something, I'll probably have Brian do a little bit more on the league stuff, or Rod, one of them, that we're not dealing with leagues a whole lot. But again, the league settings as well are in here. And then from the beginning, when we created all of our different locations, we can, again, if we needed to add something, if there was something new that came on here, we could then add new locations in here as well. Then when we initially did it, we had that big old spreadsheet that we put together. But now that we're on the database, we can now go ahead and do those directly from in here. And then the membership areas, so again, we have the entry points, which will, we'll focus more on another lesson, but the entry points are very important too. That's not the same thing as the station. The entry points actually will be where you can have your members check in, and you can feed. If, like for the summit, we have two areas, two desks that can actually now could take check-ins as well. For members, we now can feed it into one section, which the main desk check-in is now an entry point, and the athletic door at the summit is an entry point. So we can make those. All of those are ways that we're able to kind of simplify all the data coming through into one section, which is really, really nice. But again, membership stuff, that's where like all of our different areas are being housed at. Again, point of sale stuff, if you're wanting to add different things, different charges, and charges in this case are more like templates. So again, when we were building templates a lot of the times in the training room at the Charles D. England Center, and those charges can then be used to particular menus. ActiveNet actually remembers that stuff, and it allows you to then add those charge templates to any of your menus, so you don't have to redo it all again. So if you're thinking about wanting to do something over and over and needing to do something to put it in a particular menu, you might want to do a charges template, and then you can just build on that from there. You can put whatever prices inside there. Again, a lot of these are more detailed in those Brainshark videos. That'll be very, very important. I definitely recommend everybody to go through those when you can, especially now that while we have more computer access and a little bit more time on certain areas, get a chance to get in those Brainshark videos. They are very helpful, and they will expand on kind of the broad view that I'm showing today. And then registration settings, all of us were touching that a lot during the training room that we were at, and then a lot of those things will be available to where if you need to add new activities, you can go in here to search the activities. Then we can look at a lot of them right now, considered tentative, but you can search again all of the different activities in here as well. And we have 320 records in here. But again, if you need to search for activities or add to it, this is where you can come as well. It's just one way in ActiveNet. There's several ways, but this is one of them that in the main navigation menu you can actually see. So to recap again, we have a lot of different options. In the main menu, this left side again is called the navigation menu. Up top is also known as our banner tabs. And then in here, where it says administration, this is known as just a tab, which is a subsection of what these main menus are. If you're in a point of sale, you can open a point of sale record and then be able to ring something up here. If it's a customer, you can have multiple customers along those tabs. So all of those each of them have a great function in ActiveNet. And I think this is very important to know as we build going from here, you'll now see that there's lots of menus and there's lots of different options to do things. But now you're kind of getting familiar with what the main headings are, and then what other settings that drill on the main banner tabs, which you'll see here on the navigation. One of the couple things I wanted to show you too, to also, when you're up here at the top, you also will find out that there's a little more icons. Now, where you're ready to log out of the system, you can also hit this as well. This is the log out button. And then you also can view your profile, which I don't think that has very many options on there. I think it's just your email. But I guess as far as profile editing, you can do that there. And then this is also going to give you the latest version of what ActiveNet is, kind of like what CenterEdge would show you at the top left corner of the window. This is basically the version we'll have. The great news about ActiveNet versus what we have right now is that ActiveNet does all this behind the scenes. We won't have interruptions during the middle of business. I know the Summit has had that a few times, and a lot of this stuff is all behind the scenes because it's a database driven over and web based, and so they can do all that stuff behind the scenes and without interruption to business. So that's also a really good thing. That's a really nice change for what we'll have now. And plus, being web based, we have a little bit more accessibility to our data if we needed to get to it. But like I said, when we get up here, when you look at that account tab, you again can change the different locations. This is, again, the entire location is here, and then the terminal that you're wanting to be at is right below it. And again, if you're just changing within your center, then you just change the bottom one. And you're going to change, you do have to close all tabs though. That is a very important thing. So if you do, you want to make sure that your tabs are closed. And then you will be able to go back in here and can switch it. And as you can see here, you have the existing workstations. You can change to another one if you wanted to. Say, for instance, I want to go to the cafe. I can switch to that, and I can submit it. And now I'm on the cafe version of it. You see? So now Summit Cafe point of sale. And what's unique about that is when you go into point, say, for instance, for Summit, for the point of sale at the cafe, you now will be able to go in and it will show just the cafe screen, which we designed it that way. So and it's basically just one section less than what our front desk will look like. So now all of our volunteers will just see this every time, and we'll be able to ring things up. So that's what shows you the difference, though, between our different stations. When we built these, we had to make sure that they were set up on the right terminal. Like for the cafe was set up on the cafe terminal, and front desk was done the same way. But that's how you can change within ActiveNet to different locations and different terminals. Okay, I think overall, let me go back here, switch back. Okay, just a moment here. Okay. So in summary, and I got it done a little bit earlier than I thought, but that's okay, because I want to make sure there's questions at the end that we can also go back to at the end. So in a nutshell, again, ActiveNet, and most of this is redundant, but just again, it's an official registration and booking system for our Parks and Rec facilities, fields, schools, etc. All of our rec centers are linked in the same system, which is a big difference from what we were currently in CenterEdge. Every rec center had a different database of its own in CenterEdge. This time we are linked up all together, which is, again, very powerful because then we have all the same data. And also, on the contrary, we have to be careful too that we watch where we're going, because we don't want to book on stuff on, say, for instance, Summit getting onto, say, the Epics, or Charlie Taylor accidentally get onto Dower. Those kind of things are things that we'll also put in place, and I know ActiveNet will help us with a little bit. With Active Network will do, but again, just remember that as of being on the same system, we need to make sure that we also concentrate, we're focused on know where we are in the system, because we are all together. And it is robust. It's coming from CenterEdge, it is a true recreation-based software versus a true inventory software, which CenterEdge was. And so from registration to camps to trips to booking pavilions, again, we're opening a lot of doors to different new possibilities, which is very exciting. And this is just the beginning. We can still begin to see lots of different things we can do with this program. There's a lot of things that we haven't even tapped into yet. And in the early stages, I think we'll be able to do some really cool things with ActiveNet, including the communication side, which will be very helpful when it gets down to, notifying for cancellation for classes, or if it comes down to just making a notification from instructors to allow an update for, an upcoming class. All of these things are very important that ActiveNet provides us now. So now we are at questions and comments, and I'm going to open the floor up for any questions that you may have. Again, I hope this has been helpful. I really focused on trying to get the fundamentals of what the system is going to do. Because we're going to on Tuesday next week, we're going to build on the part 2 of this landscape is kind of digging a little bit deeper into the settings like we've touched base on today. And then we're going to start heading onto those different banner tabs, starting with the customer database on Thursday. So again, I want to open the floor for anybody that has any questions. If not, hope this has been helpful. And again, come back on Tuesday. I'll be sending a new link. If you haven't already gotten already, I'll resend it out to you. But again, the floor is open for y'all.